Inspiration for me begins at home.
That's awesome. Let's go back even further though. What exactly is inspiration?
You're very driven and motivated. And what's really nice is if it actually looks like what you had visualized in your mind.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on your particular situation. This is the Emerging Artist Podcast. I'm here with Shiree and Nichole, and I'm here to discuss with Shiree the very important topic of inspiration and motivation today. As artists, we need to have inspiration, and we definitely need motivation, don't we, Shiree?
We do. I think it's such a great topic. Inspiration for me begins at home. I love to have a peaceful, calm, artistic atmosphere, and I love plants, and I have lots of plants. I have lots of artwork up, and I love art and photography from other artists. I like to have things in the home too that are handcrafted, handmade by other artists. Even like the earrings I'm wearing today, they were made here in Naples. I find those things to be inspiring. There's a really cool channel on TV called Artcast. Have you ever heard of it?
I have not, Shiree.
It's very cool. So you could do a tropical scene. It always has nice music, jazz or just light music going on with it. They have specific artists, and that'll run through, and I'll just have the scrolling of artwork up. So if I'm painting at home, I love to have Artcast on. And when I was doing a lot of my abstract acrylic art, I did a whole series on ocean inspiration. And it was wonderful photography and videography from all over the world of different oceans and crashing waves. And so I'm hearing this in the background as I'm creating the art. And I just found that so inspirational. So yeah, I guess that home is where it begins for me.
That's awesome. Let's go back even further, though. What exactly is inspiration? How would you define inspiration?
I think it can come from all sorts of different forms, affecting your heart and your mind to action, to inspire you, to be creative. Probably not the best definition. But I think there are so many things that can cause inspiration. It can be other people. It can be physical things around us. It can be books, just many different avenues. What do you feel inspiration is?
Yeah, I think you nailed it when you said it's taking your thoughts and moving you towards action. I think inspiration is something that triggers something in your mind that kind of tickles your ability to do something.
Yeah.
When something is super inspiring, I think you feel compelled to take action towards it, and you feel like there's no other option.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. No other option. Yeah. You do feel that way when you feel inspired by something. You're very driven and motivated, and you have to get this certain painting done, and you need to do it now because that's what's in your mind. And it's so exciting when you have those moments of inspiration and you're able to put it on canvas and see the outcome. And what's really nice is if it actually looks like what you had visualized in your mind, which sometimes it doesn't always translate to the canvas, what you have in your head, which can be a little frustrating.
But then maybe that can inspire you to do something even different still.
That's true.
But yeah, I think that's a core component, at least for the way that I think about inspiration, is that it triggers something that you already have the ability to do inside of you to actually go out and do it. And it's so important to be inspired on a regular basis, wouldn't you say?
I agree. I really think it's a daily thing. You had mentioned in a previous podcast about just your morning walk and looking at the horizon. And I absolutely feel so grateful to live in such a beautiful place. And I'm so grateful to live so close to the ocean. And we're also close not only to the Gulf, but we are also close to the Atlantic Ocean, just as a drive across the alley. And if I'm working, I don't currently live near the beach, but if I'm working downtown or at all before I go to work, I'll just and even throughout my day, just take a few minutes. I'll drive down there, get out, and just stand there and look at the ocean, look at the beach, and I feel incredibly calm when I look at the ocean. So that's a huge inspiration for me. But I do think it's a daily thing. And then I think bigger, you can do things throughout the week and the month to create more inspiration where you can spend more time.
Yeah. If inspiration is something that tickles you to do something, then what is motivation?
It would be the action of following through, carrying it out. Maybe you can be inspired, but does it actually motivate you to follow through with that? Or is it just something that lingers in the back of your head? I keep going back to my acrylic art, but I was inspired to do that about 3 years before I ever did it. And I wanted to, but I just didn't take the time to do it. I was always busy, and it wasn't until I was on a job with a client that I had done a glass beads finish for her. And she's saying, what kind of artwork should I hang? I don't even know if there is any artwork that would work because I don't want to detract from the glass beads. So I'm describing what I have in my head about this acrylic art. And she goes, where would I find something like that? And I said, it's been in my head for a long time. This is what I'm thinking. And she goes, let me be your first commission client. So make me a piece and let's see what we think about it. And so that was a really cool experience. And so, man, I made that first piece and I was so excited about it. So it turned out she ended up buying 3 other commission pieces after she saw the first one. And so that was very exciting. But I do think it is actually motivating you to physically take those steps to do something.
Yeah, I think those two things are so closely related to each other. Inspiration.
I agree.
And motivation. And yeah, so for me, I think when something is close to helping out with your bigger goals, then I find it more motivational. I think that, for me at least, is a huge part of that inspiration motivation combination. When you have the ability to do something, that doesn't necessarily mean that you should do it.
Right.
But like when it starts to align with some of your goals, then the necessity for you to do it begins to grow. And certainly if you're running a business and part of your staying power as a business is to come up with new art techniques or new skills, then I think that those two things become much more intertwined. And that certainly is the case. With any art business, you're always looking to grow and expand your repertoire and your abilities to deliver new and exciting things for your clientele and for yourself. There is like a little bit of a selfish component to any artistry, whether it's commissioned or not. You're trying to satisfy some of your own inspirational whims all the time. So yeah, motivation I think is most potent when it's in alignment with some of your bigger goals. And so I guess, how do we tap into that power to make our business grow or to make our business more successful?
For me, it is taking the time or maybe even setting goals about doing things that inspire you. There's a lot of things that if I'm not feeling inspired, and all of us have those moments, but we know we need to go to work because we need to pay bills. And so trying to do things that keep us constantly inspired, whether it's listening to a podcast about another artist, even just scheduling some time to go to an art gallery and spend a few minutes, or even going to a furniture store and checking out and seeing what is new trending in the design world. It can be inspiring. It can get your creative juices going so that you come up with some new ideas to be able to create sample boards to help grow your business.
Yeah, those are all fantastic ways to improve and to move things going forward. Earlier, you said that you want to find inspiration every day. So what are some of the things that you do, Shiree, to find that inspiration every single day?
I have a great spot outside by the swimming pool. I have created a jungle out there and all these different plants, and I'm a huge fan of orchids. So I have all these different colors of orchids, and the property is good size, so I get to see a beautiful tree line in the back and no houses or anything. And to me, sitting out there, that's a great way to start my morning and helps me be very calm, and I find that inspiring. I do like to do just a little research about maybe it's a specific bird, or here a while back I did some research about dragonflies, and there's a lot you can learn from creation and just different aspects like that, and you get ideas for color. That way, some of the greatest colors come from things that are natural. Those colors always work. They never look bad, ever. So that in itself is inspiring. The other thing, I have a membership to the botanical gardens here. And you can get in, I think you get in an hour early than the general public when you have a membership. And so you get to be a little bit more alone in the garden, and I have certain areas that I like, and I find that inspiring to just, I might only be there like a half hour, but just taking just that little bit of time, it really does help me. I guess I definitely tend to lean towards nature.
Yeah, nature is such a wonderful way to find inspiration because like you said, everything in nature is just incredibly well designed. I don't know. Every individual needs to sort out for themselves whether they believe in a creator or if everything's just random or whatever.
True.
But there's a lot of repetition to be found in nature. There's a lot of patterns that repeat themselves. There's a lot of things that you can, whether you believe it was designed or if it was just chance, there's still inspiration to be found within all those shapes and patterns and colors. And it's all around us and it's free.
True. Yes.
And I love that, because to go to a museum or to go to some other collection of artwork, you might have to pay some kind of entrance fee, but in order to be inspired by the world around you, you just need to open your eyes and just observe. Mm-hmm. And that's so cool. I mentioned this earlier in a different podcast, but I do like to soak in as much of that natural beauty as I can every single day when I take my dogs for a walk around the block. And it amazes me how many times I'll look at the same scene, but the light hits it a different way. And just a slight variation in how the sun is interacting with the clouds in the sky and the canopy of trees above me and how it shines through and hits some feature along the path. It's just incredibly beautiful to make note of those variations, and that I find very inspiring to see that. And of course, we live in Naples, Florida, and you can't help but be inspired when you visit the beach here and you look out. There's all kinds of marine life to be inspired by, and I love the nautical birds that fly around here. There's terns and pelicans. I find incredibly fascinating. They're like,
oh, I do too.
They look like dinosaurs to me. They look like flying pterodactyl. And just when you look at them super carefully and scrutinize the details in their body and the way that they're engineered, it's just amazing. And I find that incredibly inspiring. But there's also things that are man-made that are inspiring, and other people's works are inspiring too. So how do you seek out the inspiration from other artists?
Either physically visiting with other artists that I know. Social media, of course, is an avenue, which I follow quite a few artists in all different types of mediums, and photography as well. And I like that. And I enjoy being supportive of other artists too. I find that also being inspiring as well. It's fun to be in a room with a bunch of creative people and everybody just talking about their ideas and looking at their work, and it's exciting.
Oh, absolutely. It is exciting. When you see somebody else's work that you really like, it can get you even more motivated than if it was an idea that generated within your own head. Mm-hmm. Right?
I agree.
And it's been said many times that when your work is emulated, it's a very high degree of compliment, right? I don't know how you feel about that. Do you like to see other people emulating your techniques or your style?
I do. Yeah. I definitely would consider that as a compliment for sure. And I've learned a lot from other artists as well. I've had designers and clients have pictures of other artwork that they've asked me to paint that is inspired by a specific artist. And I've had to do a lot of just research and looking at their paintings and their brush strokes and trying to get inside their head a little bit is to figure out how they created this painting. So I do think that is definitely a compliment.
Yeah, and that brings us right back to the inspiration motivation combination.
Yes.
Right? When you see somebody else's work that you like, it drives you into that action of trying to figure out how they did it. That can be a very useful tool for you to learn how to deconstruct somebody else's work.
Yes.
The more you practice trying to emulate somebody else's results, the better you get at reverse engineering how they did things or how other people do anything. It becomes a very good skill set to be able to have somebody point at a piece of work that somebody else did and say, can you do that? And then you being able to confidently say, yes, I can figure out how to do that. Let's see. Is there anything else that we...
Motivation, I wanted to address a little bit about motivation. And I think sometimes the world we live in can be super full of anxiety. A lot of people have, well, the world's seen. People are concerned about politics and finances and housing, very real, difficult issues. And then also depression is on the rise. And I think when you're a creative person and you're struggling with depression as well, what can you do to get yourself out of that mindset, or at least enough to the point where you're motivated to go ahead and go to work and to be creative and realize that everything is going to pass. Nothing ever stays the same, that you won't always feel like you're currently feeling right at that moment. But is it willpower? What is it that is going to make you to be able to get out of bed, get off the couch, whatever, to be able to actually motivate you to go to work? Those are serious issues that not just artists face, but just the general population faces too.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good point. When you're depressed, inspiration is not something that is attainable. You need to be able to upgrade your emotional state a couple of degrees before you can even be reached by inspiration. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that's another thing that a gratitude practice can help with too.
I agree. Yeah, I think that would help. And I do remember, like, years ago, I had a friend that suffered from severe depression, and I was trying to help and just doing research so I could understand more what she was going through and how I could help her. And a lot of the information I read did say that it takes a complete act of will, basically, to force yourself. And that has to be hard. I don't suffer from depression like that, but I've certainly had days where not feeling very motivated or inspired. And I will say, yes, it has taken on my part an act of will to just make myself do it. And then once I do, pretty much in a very short period of time, I feel pretty good. But it's that initial being able to act, to be able to do that. What things do you and I think that we could share that would help somebody to be motivated when they're struggling or when they're down, to be creative, to go to work?
Yeah. One thing that I will do if I'm feeling a little down and I feel like I need something to inspire me is I'll turn on a Pixar movie.
I love that by myself. I just like to have it running in the background.
Yeah, there's just something about a good Pixar film that the vibrancy and the exaggeration of the movements and stuff that the characters have and the exaggeration of their facial expressions, and there's just so much to appreciate in a Pixar film, right down to the details of the textures that they apply to the different environmental elements and to the characters. But the overall design, there's just so much brilliance that goes into the character and set designs in those films that I can really appreciate as a filmmaker myself. But then the execution is just always so incredibly well done. And if that's not inspiring enough, usually the story was uplifting.
Yeah.
There's sometimes like a sad component to their stories, but then it's always, at the end, it's uplifting and positive.
As I've said, I like plants and flowers. I just did a bunch of research on the power of flowers, and it was very interesting in how it affects our brain, and just even seeing a photo of a flower, how it affects our serotonin, and it's just very interesting. Yeah, so go buy myself a bouquet of flowers and put it in the house. That does help me. I like that. One of the first things I thought about was you said about gratitude, and I think that morning routine, no matter how sad you feel or bad you feel, sticking with your routine and being very thoughtful about what things you can be grateful for, because no matter how bad life is, there are always things to be grateful for. Another thing, a physical activity. I swim in the pool and do some exercises, but a lot of people walk too, and I think walking is fabulous. Really good for the brain and helps put you in a better state of mind.
Oh, absolutely. And I've mentioned that I walk the dogs around the block. Sometimes if it's really a challenge that day for me to find some positivity, all I have to do is look down at my two dogs. So let me describe them real quickly.
They're so adorable.
They're super cute. I have a cockapoo, Cocker Spaniel Poodle mix, and her name is Gabby. And then Dexter, he's a Maltese Poo. He's part Maltese, Shih Tzu, and Poodle. And they're both roughly 20 pounds. They're not big dogs. They're small dogs. So like when I'm walking, they're like half jogging. So if I'm feeling particularly down in dumps or something, all I have to do is just look at them walking, half jogging next to me, and their tongues are sticking out, and they're just so happy.
Yeah,
they are just so thrilled to just be walking, and to my vision, it looks like they're both smiling with their tongues hanging out, panting, but it just makes me laugh.
That's cute. They are adorable, that's for sure.
Thank you. Yeah. Is there anything else, Shiree, that you'd like to talk about?
On motivation and inspiration, who you hang out with, who your people are, your tribe. I think that makes a huge difference too. Being with other people that are positive and being with other people that are creative too, bouncing ideas off of each other all the time. I have a lot of friends that are designers, and we'll be talking on just a specific client project, but then we get off on all these other subjects about other things, and I just love it and feed off of one another. It's just really, I think that really is inspiring as well and motivating.
I love it. So guys, if you feel like you need some extra inspiration or motivation, I suggest you contact Shiree Nichole. And the best way to do that is to go to ShireeNichole.com. That's ShireeNichole.com, and check out some of the different ways that you can plug in with Shiree and coach with her. She has courses that you can take online for inspiration and motivation, and I guarantee you will feel like you are ready to take on any art task put in your path after working with Shiree. She is top notch.
And you are in your field as well. So where can people learn about you?
Yeah, perhaps you're more video or photography oriented. You can reach me at reinventionstudiolab.com. And there's various ways for you to interact with me as well. There's some courses, there's online courses, and there's also some opportunities to be coached with me too. Whatever flavor of art you're into, we can help you out.
Yeah, that would be wonderful. Let's go paint something.
Yeah, I'm ready, Shiree. All right, wherever you guys are, we are wishing you a fantastic rest of your day, and we are really appreciating that you're an emerging artist, and we're here to support you.
We are. Have a wonderful day.
All right, take care, guys.